Hello, guys, and welcome back to Into Dream Team. You're joined by me, Ross, and the return of the Saint. He is back. It was not a dream. Welcome along, guys. Right, so we're going to get straight into it. We've got a few drafts for you. Now, these are no way going to be our locked-in final teams for the season. This is just a few drafts that we're going to have a quick chat about some of the players within them drafts, and the fellas will explain what's going on as we go. So, right, let's have a look there, guys.
Yeah, so I'll kick it off. So this team is really about attacking these early fixtures. So you will have had a little look, and out of the big teams, Liverpool really decent first fixtures. Thinking here is it's so many unknowns, but if you look at the midfield, it's really difficult to ascertain where all of the points are going to come from the midfield, which was the same problem last season. So actually going for the premium defenders with Robertson and Trent could well be the way to go. It's a bit of a gamble, but it's the way. I think it probably is the way to go. And Salah doesn't really miss, does he? I think he's proven himself so consistent.
Just briefly, mate, do you think Trent's going to be in midfield, or is he going to be a natural right back?
I really don't know what he's going to do. I guess that there's always a chance there that he could revert to a 3 at the back and have him as a wing back. He could stick him in midfield because Liverpool's midfield's a little bit all over the place, and maybe he could put Conor Bradley at right back. Whatever he does, I think he plays. So,
but from a dream team scoring perspective, we want a defender like Trent in midfield, don't we? Picking up the clean sheet points and scoring more attacking points. That's ideally what his value is worth. $5.5 million by the looks of it. What you've got there, if he's playing in midfield, not in defence, correct?
Well, yeah, but if he's a wing back, he gets forward so much and barely bothers to defend anyway. So, yes and no, but he's going to be delivering assists and goals from no matter where he is, because he also takes a lot of set pieces and things. So, you bear in mind that quite often when you do stick him in field, he tends to sit a little bit deep, and he always wants to rotate out wide. So, I don't think there's a huge amount of pressure on that. I get the thinking, but I think because of the player he is, no matter where you put him, he'll get forward.
He's big,
I think
pieces.
Yeah, and I think he's one of those high value players that probably will hold his value early on. Going to get quickly on to another team that I've got 3 players in here. So we've got Pope, Gordon, Isak. Gordon barely had a chance in the Euros. Isak on fire, certainly second half of the season. Really dangerous. And Gordon works amazingly with Isak. They've got really nice fixtures. Pope back between the sticks. I think he's going to be really solid. And I think he's going to pick you up some points early on. So he's definitely worth looking at. Murillo, good finish to the end of last season. Looked decent, gets forward. Forest have got some nice fixtures as well. Considerations here would be that there's going to be no Europe, is there? But there's no Europe for Newcastle either. Gibbs White pretty much plays as a striker, doesn't he? And was picking up a lot of points. And was and he was somebody that people were sort of gambling on, and sometimes even captaining in at times in the last quarter of last season. So you can't forget that. Fernandes, even in a bad Man United side, scores a lot of points, and I think this year is going to be a better Man United side. I expect him to be in the top 5 midfielders again, and I think he'll actually be quite widely overlooked, like he often is, because he's quite a high price tag. But he often comes back to haunt you. I would say there's going to be a lot of people rotating Chelsea and Man City players into their team after the first game week. So there will be quite a few people who'll leave out the likes of Palmer and Foden and Doku, KDB, and then they'll suddenly be having a little rethink after that. So that's something to think about. Rodgers, I think you've got European fixtures, and I think he's going to be a starter for Villa. 2.5 million is a steal. He's had a really good pre-season. Goals and assists in pre-season. Not always the biggest teller, but worth looking at. And Watkins, Jesus Christ, perhaps if he'd been the starter for England, we could be seeing from a different song sheet right now, because he was he was on fire, wasn't he? And I think he's going to carry that confidence into the new season. So you'll want him, and you're better off making space in your formation and your team early to get Watkins in, because I think you'll be regretting it if you don't have him. So
been very busy boys in the transfer market, haven't they, Villa?
They certainly have. They spent a lot of money. I think they're going to have. I hope they have a strong season. It's going to be difficult with Champions League, but there you go. So we'll go on to the old Simon Says, slightly different sort of draft. What are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a tricky one to put together, because you're never going to have like a team that you're just going to stick with for the rest of the season, unless you're a total mentalist like our good friend Johnny, the Ipswich fan. But I've tried to put together some people here that's going to be like likely to stay in your side, and probably be rotating a lot of the more attacking players, to be honest with you, because I always tend to look at the historical stats and looking at the people who performed well in previous years. And I think obviously the biggest point scorer is always the attacking players, midfielders, strikers. So starting at the back, we've gone for a nice bargain goalkeeper, but as we've been alerted to, has got the highest punches in the Premier League from last season. 2.5 million, Jose Sarr. Looking through his stats, last season he was the 8th best goalkeeper. The year before that was the 10th best, and the year before that the 4th best. So, like I say, steady performer. I expect him to be in the top 10 goalkeepers this season. There's other options out there, isn't there? Like, we can debate it all day, but I think you could put him in there and leave him in there potentially for the rest of the season. There's other ones like Leno, who's slightly more at 3 million. Your premium keepers, obviously Raya and people like that, but I'm quite happy just to put a little bit of money on him. Defence is very similar. We're not spending big money here. We've got Robinson, 3 million. Got over 200 points last season. He was actually the 13th best defender in the game. And also Tarkowski as well. He got over 200 points as well. Robinson obviously got more from his attacking output, but Tarkowski obviously gets quite a few clean sheets for Everton, and that'll probably continue under Sean Dyche, I should think. Byrne, I quite like him as an option. Again, another 3 million one. Got 181 points last season, so decent amount of points for him, and he should play regularly as well. Obviously, the downturn of these four, that none of them have Europe, but again, I think you could just potentially leave them in there. But yeah, looking a bit higher up the field, we've got the attacking players, and this is where, I've spent my pennies. Palmer is obviously a premium player at £6 million now, and he edged out Saka on points for last season. He finished second best midfielder on the game. And obviously he didn't have the additional fixtures of Europe. He does now, obviously. They're in that Europa Conference. I can see him scoring quite big in that. Saka is there as my premium Arsenal option. Ward-Prowse, obviously they don't have Europe this season like they did last season, but he got 259 points last year, so he was the 12th best midfielder on there, and he's a nice steady choice. 3.5 million is a bit of a steal for the 19th best player in the game for last season. Mainoo is a good one, I think. He's a cheap option, 3 million. Like Ross said, that Man United have got some decent fixtures to start with, and they're going to be playing in Europe as well long term. So yeah, I can see him being a good buy. I think he's quite highly owned at the moment by most people, and he's one of them ones. He didn't come into, I think it was November, December last year, because he had that injury, but he's still got like 120 odd points, I think, just for like half a season. So hopefully he'll be over 200 this year. Obviously Salah and Haaland speak for themselves, as premium choices. I think actually Haaland's going to have like a monster season this year. Obviously had a full rest over the summer. I can see him being the top point scorer. Salah, it'll be interesting to see if he plays in that Europa, in them Europa games. We'll see obviously in the future, but under the new manager, I can see them being quite gung-ho from what I've read so far. So hopefully that will result in lots of goals. I put Nunez in at the start, obviously putting aside all the debate if he gets banned or not. We don't know yet. There's still a lot of question marks if he gets banned for that altercation he had with the fans. But I've put him in there at the moment because last season he finished the fourth best striker in the game, and 4.5 million is a bit of a steal really at this stage. But like I say, what I'd be doing if I had this team to start with, I'd be kind of using my 2 transfers every week and kind of just rotating a lot of the attacking ones unless I had an injury at the back. I mean, you've got other options there, like Højlund is quite an interesting one now. Van Nistelrooy's gone to Man United. I think he'll really kick on this season. He's got the number 9 shirt as well, so could be a big year for him. But we could debate, these choices all day long, but I think that's a pretty solid longer term pick there. And shall we see some wild cards?
Let's just imagine for a second that you've just taken a bit of LSD and you thought, right, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go on to my dream team and I'm going to make a team. Here we go.
Off his tits.
Well, I mean, I'm no way endorsing the use of LSD. However, you may remember last year when I snuck a McTominay in under the radar and bagged me a brace or something, didn't he? And you didn't like that idea either. But the proof was in the pudding. But then, equally fucked myself with an old wake horse in the Euros. So
what was that about?
Yeah.
But yeah, come on, let's not get silly. We're not talking about making a team like this. This team has got 13 million left in the budget. But what we're just highlighting some players that you can bring in, some cheaper alternatives to help with your budget. So starting from the off, I think Martinez, he is their number one, Villa's number one. He topped the punches, or he was in the top 2 of the most punches last year. Top goalkeeper for sweeper clearances. Villa love that high line. That isn't going to change this year. For 3.5 million with Champions League football and a goalkeeper who can save a penalty or 2, the value in Martinez is strong. So I think he's a very, very good choice for the goalkeeper. Not much of a wild card choice there at all. And then we've got Van de Ven at Spurs. Obviously, Spurs' defensive problems were highlighted last year. Didn't keep a clean sheet, hardly ever did they. But rumours of Van de Ven potentially, playing in a 5 on the left-hand side of the central 3. He's a Rolls Royce of a defender, isn't he? And if we can get a full season out of him, as opposed to last year when he had that fairly lengthy injury, he could score well at 3.5 million. And Spurs with the European competition as well. Shaw's back, isn't he? He obviously missed a lot of last year and came in for the Euros. Didn't really skip a beat, did he? I thought we might have issues with him when he came into the team during the Euros, but let's face it, if he's going to have no issues and play the majority of games for Man United at left back, their defence is going to be 10 times better, and he is always a proven dream team points scoring player. So don't forget about Luke Shaw coming back into the team and coming back to full fitness. So then we've got Martson, who went out on loan from Chelsea last year to Dortmund. Gung-ho attacking fullback. Had a real good time of it in the Bundesliga. The Yellow Wall fell in love with him. They wanted him back in Dortmund. Villa have snuck in under the mat, pinched him for themselves. And he could do really well at left back for them. I think the left back slot has been a bit of an issue. So I can see him coming in and taking that position for himself, and the rotation not being too highly affecting on Martson. So he's I've seen him in quite a few drafts as well, to be honest with you. So people do seem to have him on their radar. Moving up the pitch, as Ross has already said, Rodgers could be doing pretty well this season. He's already had a good preseason at the time of recording. He's got 3 goals in preseason already this season, and at 2.5 million, could be an absolute steal in midfield. I think they signed him as an understudy for Ramsey, didn't they? But his progression has been, leaps and bounds, and he's probably overtaken Ramsey now for the starting berth in that Villa team. And they're gonna need the squad this year, Villa. So, Rodgers,
fun fact about Rodgers:
go.
Cole Palmer stole his celebration from him.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, he brought the old cool as ice. Also, Rodgers in Football Manager 2021, he goes off, mate. Like, if that's anything to go by, 3 or 4 years down the line in Footy Manager, Morgan Rodgers is he's scoring goals for fun. So bear that in mind as well. Now, Brennan Johnson. I think he's going to come in and give Kulusevski the old elbow, isn't he? Kulusevski's out the window. Brennan's going to take that right-hand side, and rightly so, because he had a good end to the season, and he had an incredible 0.83 XGI for 9. Let me do that again. And Johnson had incredible stats of 0.83 XGI per 90 when the season was all wrapped up and over. So an expected goal involvement every 83 minutes from Johnson last season. So not to be sniffed at, that. And bloody good. 3 million for a route into that Spurs attack. I'll take that. Talking about 3 million into an attack which could provide very healthy, fruitful returns. Hudson-Odoi, he done well last year. Odoi and Alanga, they were sparking fear into the hearts of some fullbacks, and the direct running at the heart of the defence from those 2 flanks. Forest, they've got a very good start to the season, very nice fixtures at the start of the season, and it's a toss-up for me, really, between Hudson-Odoi or Alanga. Odoi being the slightly cheaper of the 2. So, well worth your consideration, I feel. And then there's the new kid on the block. The new kid on the block from Troyes. There's a little bit of what would you call it, Ross? You're the businessman amongst us. There's a little bit of naughtiness going on here, isn't there, with transfers around Savinio, but we won't go into that. But like the guy's been going out on loan, coming back, owned by the same people who own City as who own Troyes, and it's basically just been a route to cleaning money, I believe. But either way, in La Liga last year, he went out on loan to Girona. We all know that Girona had a very good season. And this fella, 37 appearances, 19 goal involvements. He profited with 10 assists and 9 goals. So he is, let me get this right, he's left-footed and actually prefers to play on the left rather than inverted, but he obviously can play inverted. I'm thinking that Pep's going to want to use him in rotation with Bernardo as opposed to on the Grealish Doku side of the attack. So, but those numbers speak for themselves. And if we have a 3.5 million route into that Man City attack and he's going to be playing healthy minutes, then Savinio, let's have a look at him and see what the kid's got. But obviously, Brazilian youngster, we already know he's going to be fairly lively, don't we? Tony, a huge contender this year if he gets his move. Now, what are we thinking, guys? We want him to go to Spurs?
Oh, that'd be good, wouldn't it? It's what we want.
Yeah,
Tony
I
to
think I would only
Spurs.
put him in my team if he moves.
Yeah, and I think Spurs is such a good fit for him. Like
Yeah.
you got Madison, Son back out on the left, Johnson on the right. Like everyone wants Son on the left. Son's a better player on the left coming in. Tony could really have a very, very good season if Daniel Levy finds his wallet behind the sofa and actually parts with some money. I just don't get why this business isn't done. Like Ivan Toney is being sold at a budget price, right?
Yeah.
Budget for that type of player, I suppose.
For that type of player, they're not demanding the kind of numbers that you'd expect. He wants out. Surely it's the easiest transfer of the season. Just get it done, and then we can all slot him into our team. Because I think if he's lining up for Tottenham at the start of the season, Leicester and Everton, we're going to want him in our attacks. Yeah, hopefully Nkunku can stay fit this year. He's 4 million for what could be the starting number 9 for Chelsea. And let's remember, they bought him after his 2022-23 season in the Bundesliga, where he got 16 goals and 6 assists in 25 appearances. So, healthy returns prior to his transfer to Chelsea. And then obviously played with injury issues last year. But if Chelsea are going to have a better season, then they're going to want him on the pitch. And if he's on the pitch, he's going to be converting a lot more of the chances that fucking old, what's his name?
Jackson
spurned last year. So, and Nkunku, very good value, I feel, for 4 million. He's already had a couple of goals in pre-season as well. So, don't overlook Nkunku. And then there's Muniz, the Fulham striker, who obviously had a very good season last year. Fulham are very active in the transfer market. One's to watch. They've got a fair old kitty. So that's me done.
Yes.
So that's
the draft.
That's the draft. There's a few options there, but don't make a full team like this. You use all your money.